What's up, guys? How's it going? We're here. Basically on time. Just a tiny bit late. It's I think everybody knows pretty much whose fault it was for being just barely late, but we still made it. So yeah, sure. You can go ahead and take the blame for that, Anthony. Yeah. Shout out to you guys in the chat though for hanging out, for staying tuned. Just 5 minutes or so, right? So we're here. Appreciate you guys, by the way, because the channel passed 143,000 subscribers earlier today. Thank you. Y'all are the best. This community is what it is because of y'all. So the community itself. But never lost on me. Doing an exciting giveaway. Mentioned it in the last video. All you got to do is have dropped a comment in the last video. But it's any NFL jersey of your choice. We'll spin for that later in the stream. So for people that are wanting to get on that, just go back to the last video that I dropped, enter in the comments, come back here, hang out, and we'll spin for that. So thank you guys first off. Also, shout out to the sponsor, one of the sponsors of the channel, Underdog. You see the QR code that's there on pretty much every one of our streams, but shout out to them. Use code Philly Special, scan the QR code. $5 gets you $100 in bonus funds, and Lord knows that I need those. After a not great start this season, I think it's the fact that the Eagles are or that they are so predictable, but they're not predictable in terms of who's going to actually have a good game, that it feels like almost every week has been a miss. We will get into all of that, but I will say one thing that is unpredictable, as Anthony DiBona, the Ant-Man himself, who always joins, follow at DiBona NFL. The NFL is unpredictable through 6 weeks of the season. I don't think that there's so many different storylines you could pick, but I personally did not see a lot of this thing coming, and I don't know that many people in the chat or anywhere else did either.
So you didn't see the Ravens being 1-5, and
I mean,
the Bucks and the Colts being the only 5-win teams in the league through 6 weeks. I mean, come on, everybody saw this coming. No?
Hey, I guess I just missed it. I missed the memo. I didn't actually see that, but yeah, Baker Mayfield is the MVP favorite. With a new offensive coordinator losing his guy, Liam Cohen, yeah, I should have seen it coming. Without Mike Evans for multiple games, his best receiver's been Emeka Egbuka, which, hey, I mean, he's been a stud, but now he's out with the hamstring injury. Bucky Irving's been out. I don't know. No, I did not see this at all.
I mean, it also is funny, though, because obviously the sky is falling in Philadelphia, right? Because the Eagles lost back-to-back games, but then you look around the league and it's like, the Buccaneers are 5-1 atop the NFC, and their only loss was to the Philadelphia Eagles. So it's like you really want to panic and oh my God, everything is terrible. There's no way they turn us around. You're like, wait, kind of the rest of the NFL is going through this too. It's like the Chiefs got off to a slow start. They're looking a little bit better. The Bills have lost back-to-back games, and I tweeted about it, and the tweet kind of went crazy. For anybody that hasn't seen it, the Eagles and Bills have both lost their last 2 games. They're both averaging exactly 17.0 points per game in their last 2 games. And they're both averaging exactly 5.7 yards per play over their last 2 games. So it's meanwhile, Josh Allen is being held to this pedestal where he's the best quarterback in the NFL. He should win an MVP. If it's not Baker Mayfield, Drake May, those other guys too. But then you're wait, Jalen Hurts is being crucified by the national media. And if he would have had the performance that Josh Allen had last night, people will be saying start Tanner McKee. They already are saying that, depending on who you listen to. But it's just crazy, the difference between how those 2 quarterbacks and those 2 teams are being kind of talked about, because you don't hear anything about the Bills or Josh Allen's struggles. But the second the Eagles struggle, it's the end of the world. So
you're right.
Part of that might be the way us Eagles fans react and just the way the local media acts as well. Maybe a little bit too in the moment, but it is kind of funny to zoom out and see how both teams are covered.
You're right. It is. And there's the tweet, by the way. I was wanting to pull that up for people that are curious. Perspective goes a good ways. And both can be true. And I think how many times have we said this, but both arguments can be true. It's is it as bad as it seems? No, but maybe it also is, yes, because they do need to make changes. We absolutely know that. We see that. If they're going to win the Super Bowl, they cannot play the way that they have. And you can even take out the Giants game. The Giants game, they play like that. We already said it last week whenever we did the stream during Friday. They won't win a single game. But, I mean, my gosh, you do. You see the Bills, that was a Super Bowl favorite. Not that they couldn't, find themselves kind of, again, they're in the same boat as you mentioned there. You see there in the tweet, like Anthony was talking about too. The Ravens are probably done. I mean, it would take a monumental comeback to even make the playoffs at this point, and then try to build enough momentum and have a defense worth anything. So that was a Super Bowl favorite, one of them. The Packers, I'm not sure what they are. They have spurts where you're like, oh my gosh, like this is a really good team. And then they also struggle for 3 quarters against the Bengals, and they get beat by the Browns, and they tie the Cowboys. Like there's something, it doesn't make any sense. And even the Lions going into the game against the Chiefs, I'm like, okay, the Chiefs are desperate, sure, playing Arrowhead, Sunday Night Football. I get all that. But everyone was saying before the game and back during the live stream, even like, I made the case, or I kind of brought it up. I was like, you can't really make the argument that there's a juggernaut yet this season. And I understand that if you were going to throw out a team, the vast majority was saying, well, yeah, but the Lions, right? So, okay, cool. Like they'd been beating teams. Their offense is dominant. And the opening drive, maybe the first 2 possessions for the Lions against the Chiefs, a buzzsaw. Like the offense was unstoppable. You're like, oh my gosh, they're going to score 40 on Kansas City. This is not even going to be a contest. Lo and behold, how many points do they put up? 17. There's something about this weird 17 number, right? And the Lions lost. So as beautiful, as creative, as dynamic as the Lions offense is and can be, they still lost. They only put up 17 points. And I have no clue who the team to beat is in the NFC, let alone the NFL, as we're going around to look at them.
It's funny because it feels like we've been saying for weeks now that, like, what is the Eagles' identity, right? It's just like you can't get a grasp on this team. Even like from quarter to quarter, half to half, it's like they look great and then they look terrible. They look like they're putting it together, and that's like, oh, no, it's like 1 step forward, 2 steps back, right? But if you look across the NFL as a whole, basically every team outside of maybe the Buccaneers, who lost to the Eagles, like I mentioned, and the Colts have kind of been going through those same struggles this entire season, where the NFL as a whole doesn't really have an identity yet, and we're 6 weeks through the season. Like you said, there doesn't seem like there's that clear favorite in either conference, where it's like, yeah, they're going to run away with it, because even the Chiefs have their questions. Like the Eagles obviously have questions. So the teams that everybody kind of thought were going to be separating themselves from the pack by this point in the season, it just hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, it is pretty hilarious to see. And again, we'll go through a lot of the different NFL takes, topics, standings, everything else. I mean, if you were going to throw out who the team to beat is, feel free to let us know in the chat, because I am curious takeaways on who you'd actually come up with. Deke Pro with the 20 bomb, though, starting this out. Appreciate the super chat. I don't know why that thing is so incredibly hard to read. Hang on, let me fix this. It's like every stream, this thing gets thrown off. I think that's easier now. We can actually see it. There we go. The 20 bomb from Deke Crow. For all of the red flags Zadarius Smith people are putting on our team, I'll say his retirement pick in our jersey is a green flag. Watching teams across the league makes me more optimistic. Every top team is playing spotty. Go Birds. And that was earlier as we were talking about that too. So kind of in sync with that as well. Yes, hearing things and taking some time and everything else. I'm not as much of the sky is falling, which we can get into some of that as well. But ultimately, you mentioned as well, like the 5-1 teams, the teams that are good. I was just pulling up the Colts just for the heck of it too, as a reminder to myself. And I was like, yeah, they are 5-1, but they played the Dolphins. They barely beat Denver. They played the Titans. They lost to Los Angeles. They beat the Raiders, and they barely hung on to beat the Cardinals. And it took a rally there at the end, or very close to the end. So none of those wins are shocking to me. Like maybe you could say, well, was Denver a team that you expected to be a little bit better, but it's a 1-point win, and it took a miraculous, weird field goal exchange at the end, and how that game even took place, and them to get a chance to actually kick it the second time. So I don't even know. But yes, the NFL is nuts so far. It's drunk, quite honestly. So not the worst place to be in, considering we don't necessarily have an identity for the Eagles, and there's still time, whether or not we buy into it, or those out there that are pessimistic and thinking that we're absolutely cooked already. I think I did the poll. Was it on Friday or was it on I lose track of time. It was either Friday or it was yesterday during the show. I think it may have been yesterday. And I put a poll up there and said, "Are we cooked?" And it was 43% of people in the stream said, "Yes, we are cooked. Like the season is over." Now, this was maybe the knee jerk reaction to this Darius Smith news, but I'm holding out hope. We got a little bit more of an opportunity, knowing the guys in the building, and again, whether or not we make those changes necessarily that we need for the coaching staff, but there's more than enough talent on this roster.
Yeah, I mean, I understand the frustration. I mean, after that loss to the Giants was just now you have so much time in between that and the next game because usually you'd want to just get over that quickly, like we thought they were going to do with the Broncos, but obviously that didn't happen. It kind of just snowballed into an even bigger problem. But then I think I haven't really said we haven't really spoke on video as far as is Darius Smith retiring, and I don't think it's the red flag that some people are making it out to be. Where like, oh, he knows they're not going to win a Super Bowl, or like this locker room is fractured. I wouldn't go that far. I think because if you look at the snap totals since they activated or since they had him active, he was on the active roster. He just was a healthy and active. But since Azeez Ojulari has started playing, he's kind of just jumped right to that second spot on the edge rushers behind Jalen Hunt because he outsnaps Zadarius Smith 1 week, and then the following week he did it once again. And Zadarius Smith, meanwhile, he's playing behind Patrick Johnson. He's become like one of the last edge players as far as who's active. So I think he might have just kind of seen the writing on the wall because his role is kind of decreasing. Nolan Smith will hopefully be coming back after the bye week. It seems like everybody is saying that they're going to try and add another edge rusher either through trade or if they're going to sign somebody, who knows. So, and if you look at his contract, a lot of it was based on incentives for getting sacks. So he's like, listen, I only got 1.5 sacks through 6 weeks. Once these guys come back, I'm going to be playing 10 to 15 snaps a game. Like, what are the odds that I'm going to get hit the 6 sacks or the 7 sacks, 8 sacks? So and that was probably in the back of his mind because he is a guy that was in the league for 12 plus years, whatever it was. Like, he doesn't really have anything to prove outside of that Super Bowl ring. But obviously the money played a part because that's the reason why he was out for that long. He was waiting for a team that needed the help. So now that it's kind of, he's seeing like down the road that, hey, I'm not gonna make the full $9 million or whatever it was with the incentives. Maybe I should just hang it up. So I don't think it's necessarily that he thinks the Eagles are bad or that they've lost their locker room. I think it's just he's kind of saw the writing on the wall, and they have to make other moves because the corner position, which we'll get into, the edge spot, maybe even another offensive lineman, who knows. But it's better to I know people compare this to 2023, but they found out almost too late into the season where it was past the trade deadline where they started falling off a cliff and they weren't able to kind of make the fixes that were necessary. Now they're 4-2. They lost back-to-back games. I know it's doesn't feel like 4-2, but they're still right there. They're in first place in the division. They control their own destiny if they win out or whatever the case. And their trade deadline is still a couple weeks away. So there's still plenty of time to go. And I wouldn't say the Eagles are cooked just yet.
Yeah. You see the standings there officially. They got more. I mean, they're still in first place. And quite honestly, I expected after the games last night, the Monday Night Football games, I expected the Commanders to have won that game. They should have. It was poorly mismanaged. And I retweeted or quote tweeted Ryan Fowler, who was talking about the Commanders game or their play calling, especially the sequence, the last 2 possessions. And it was like, you've been winning or, to have kind of asserting your dominance after a slow start because of correct, aggressive play calling and being assertive. And it was like, they're just going to, kind of very conservatively try to run the ball. And it was a lot of inside zone and it was a lot of getting stopped by Chicago. And yes, the rain played a factor. Yes, the turnovers ultimately would cost them, but still the play calling and the sets that they ran were almost inexcusable. And a lot of other Commanders fans and other analysts made very similar accusations to what we've heard for the Eagles and a lot of other play callers. They said it's coaching malpractice. There's the same thing for the Bills game, the reason that they lost. So, it's not to fully excuse away or really even partially excuse away that we'll see the Eagles are fine where they're at. They're not fine, but it is just a little bit more of a perspective to go, other teams are struggling with this, and teams that we expected, oh yeah, they've got the identity. They did it last year. There's areas where they have shown some strengths, but absolutely have some weaknesses. And you look at this division, yeah, we got shellacked by the Giants, the first matchup. I'm hoping that we can right the ship in 2 weeks and give them a taste of their own medicine for what we just experienced. But all in all, like there's not a team in the division that we've seen, because we've seen Dallas, obviously we won that one, and we've seen the Giants. It was bad, it was terrible, but I don't see that as like, oh, talent is an issue. It's like you just got to show up ready to play. There's nothing that goes like, okay, cool. There's the division. You can absolutely, the division is totally up for grabs, and then same thing for the NFC. We're showing that the records are talking about the records a second ago. So I don't know. I have a lot of hope as far as the.
I'm not hearing you. I don't know if it's on my end
Oh,
or.
can you hear me now?
No, I can. Okay.
Okay,
I don't
sorry.
know what happened there.
I don't know why. Sometimes whenever I switch the camera back and forth, it mutes me for some reason. So, all right, we're back. I was gonna say though, John McMullen, Bruce Cabina, Zach Berman. I think there were multiple beat writers that had said that Zadarius Smith's departure was for personal reasons. So again, you could speculate it, you could doubt it, you could say, well, I don't know, I'm trying to, writings on the wall, whatever. But like, it was the general consensus, so maybe it was, right? And then he just says, I had the hope, I wanted to be here, but ultimately that's it, and just made a move to decide to move on. So that was the report there, but I still am holding out hope. There's a couple moves that Howie, if he goes out and makes, we've talked about those. We can get into those. First off here real quick, though, with the JR Coat with a 20 bomb, another one. Josh Wire, the media, and some Eagles fans, in quotations, fans, so quick to diminish Hurts with other quarterbacks. Been to 2 Super Bowls, won and an All-Pro, NFC Offensive Player of the Year, and second in MVP votes in 22, but the media always waits for a screw-up to pile on. That's, it's kind of the thing that's followed Jalen, it feels like, for his entire career, but I think it's the blessing and the curse of where the Eagles are at. That's like a really broad way to answer it, I guess. But it's like, you look at this Eagles team, there's no denying they're crazy talented. Like, all things being equal, and if and when their offense is humming, which we have seen spurts of it, but when it is, they've got a top 3 receiver in the league. They've got a top 2 running back in the league, if not 1. I'd say he's 1, but some people want to go 2, whatever. But like, so you have that. If and when the offensive line is playing up to their level, they've shown that they can be the best offensive line in the NFL. But even if you want to say they're top 3, and you got Smitty, who's so overlooked, so underappreciated by certainly national media standards, but really a lot of people, because it's like, oh, you forget about, wow, yeah, you see Smitty have a crazy game or make some really clutch catches, and you're like, yeah, he's legit, right? He's another wide receiver 1 on a lot of teams. So I think it's the knock on Jalen is that you see all the talent there, you get spoiled by video game numbers and stats and ratings and everything else, and go, yeah, why shouldn't Jalen Hurts? Yeah, it's the Chris Sims argument, it's the other national media pundits arguments. I get that, but like, they see that, and it's just instantly, well, yeah, he should be winning no matter what because he's got all the talent. And it's just such a lazy take to me, though, because you go back and look at other quarterbacks who've had success. Maybe you can argue and say, well, yeah, but so and so didn't have the guys. Maybe not, but they still had really good weapons. Like, you can't prove to me, you can't go point to and say like, oh yeah, this quarterback, was leading the league in numbers, or he was having a really good offense and didn't have weapons out there. So Jalen has proven it. And again, like you said, JR, here on the comment, to me, the biggest, I guess, proof point for what Jalen's done is doing it on the biggest stage. If it was like, okay, the lights are the brightest and then he just shrinks, like we've seen some quarterbacks, like they can be good in the regular season and they shrink whenever the moment is the biggest and the brightest, then okay. But Jalen has been forced to beat other teams, and he's done it by his own accord. I mean, honestly, I'd say 2 times. It's only been once, but 2 times for his own performance in the Super Bowl. So, but for some reason, yeah, they continue to hate on it because he does. He's got a lot of talent around him.
I mean, which doesn't make any sense to me, right? Because like, it's not like he's the one that put all these players around him. He just landed in the situation.
Not at all. No, yeah.
He didn't. It's not like he inherited this great team. He's been kind of coming along with. They've added parts to this, right? It's like, if you look at the players he was throwing to his first year, it's like Devontae Smith. Well, in 2021, Devontae Smith, and then it was like Jalen Reagor and Quez Watkins. Like, that's obviously not a great.
Quez,
I mean,
yes.
Dallas Goedert, sure, but like, the second they added AJ Brown, and then Jordan Mailata developed into the player that he is, Landon Dickerson developed into the player that he is, like, then I also think the fact that they traded for AJ Brown and then the tush push felt like it really turned the tide as far as like how Jalen Hurts was being viewed, because it seemed like there was already kind of like a divide with like, is he good or is it just the players around him? But then once they started getting the maximum allotted like national TV games, which is like 6 games or whatever it is, and now you're seeing them just get to the red zone and then tush push for a touchdown, or they get to midfield, 4th and 1, tush push for a first down. It's just like everybody, for some reason that's not an Eagles fan, seemed to either love that play or hated it. Kind of like the split between the NFL coaches, like with the voting and stuff too. It's just like either you love it, it's a very polarizing play, and thus Jalen Hurts is the tush push essentially, right? So they're kind of viewed as one, which still isn't necessarily fair to Jalen Hurts, but it feels like because he doesn't have these gaudy passing numbers, like you said, he's not going to be a 5,000-yard passer with 50 touchdowns. But like you said, when the lights are shining the brightest, he essentially outplayed Patrick Mahomes twice in the Super Bowl, right? If you look at the numbers and just take like the defensive performances away, he outplayed the best quarterback of this generation. And I feel like I say it every show because the doubt for Jalen Hurts just gets louder and louder. He, like, when it matters most, he shows up. And I feel like people put too much stock, and especially in today's day and age where it's just like quick reactions, fantasy football, betting, all this stuff. It's like he throws for 100 yards, he sucks. But like also in the Super Bowl, he can throw for 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, or rush for 100 yards and 3 touchdowns. Like when it matters, when the chips are all in, he makes those plays. So it's like, what do you value? Do you value? And then you have people saying even crazier stuff where it's like, oh, winning championships is overrated as a fan, or like winning. It's like, what are we doing at this point?
It's like that's not the metric that we should grade someone off of. It's like, hang on,
it's crazy. I think
but they keep moving the goalpost because for some people, it's some people it's like, oh well, he's got more championships, but then it's for Jalen, it's like, yeah, well, he's kind of carried. It's like, hang on, what? Where are we going with this? A Super Bowl MVP, and he was carried to that? Like it just, it doesn't make sense. He's still.
It's so frustrating because if one player is in a great situation, say Josh Allen, like when he had Stephon Diggs, nobody was saying like, oh, but he has Stephon Diggs, that's why he's great. It's like you have to wait until the player is stripped down to nothing, and then they have to bring that team to a championship or deep postseason run to get any like recognition. Even when Lamar Jackson was great to start his career, but he was still like throwing for less than 4,000 yards or whatever, people didn't want to give him credit. He had to win multiple MVPs or at least be in the conversation for people to find like, wait, Lamar Jackson's a good quarterback. It's just like, what more do you want Jalen Hurts to do as far as winning to prove that he's a good quarterback? I don't get it.
It doesn't make sense. But I mean, it's what gets people fired up. And I think there's a media element obviously with that or the national media element with that, because they know as soon as they say it's going to get comments, it's going to get clicks, it's going to get people riled up as it does, and you start talking about it. So Mauricio with the 2, appreciate that. Is it possible to get Micah? What? Also go get CJGJ. Micah? Surely you didn't. You got to be saying somebody else. Micah?
Is there another Micah?
That's got. Who am I not thinking of here? Is that a? Did they? Because even if they said honestly Myles Garrett here, like that's still impossible. Like it's not impossible, but it's not going to happen. But Micah of all, like they just trade. There's no way. Okay, Mauricio, comment back if you met somebody else. Let me know, because that one there, like it just seems like a super quick. No, absolutely not. He was traded to the Packers. Why? Why in the world would they be like, hey, we're gonna trade him back? Also, as far as the go get CJGJ, I mean, we can at least comment.
I was going to say, do you want to just get that out of the way now?
That's fair. We can do that. I was going to wait for it because whatever, but it's fair. It's at least something here. So CJGJ, we have talked about this way too much, quite honestly, because it's like, oh, he's available. Do you bring him back? Just speculation out there. He's available again. He's been cut by the Ravens. A mutual agreement to move on, according to some people. There's just a common denominator. I don't think so. Based on what I've heard, I've said this a million different times, but based on what I've heard, the way that it ended, it's just not going to happen. I will be shocked. I will be stunned. I'll admit that I was wrong, but I will be absolutely floored if he comes back to the Eagles and they make that happen. So I think it's just I mean, dare I say 0.0% chance, because we know what happens whenever we do those things on this one. But like it's just about as close to impossible as I don't know, whatever metric you want to go off of. I don't think it's happening.
Yeah, I mean the fact that just looking back at that trade, Kenyon Green's gone, right? Like they were basically just moving CJ Gardner-Johnson for at first people were trying to say it was financial reasons, like trying to jump through hoops to figure out the motive behind the deal. But as time has gone on, I mean now the Texans have released him even though he was playing a ton of snaps for them. He was a starter for them and then just outright cut him. And then reports came out that it was locker room tension. That never came out in Philadelphia. But I mean like you can kind of the puzzle pieces are lying right there on the floor. It's just up to you if you want to put it together or not. I mean, he's been on 6 different stints across like 5 different teams over the last 5 years. I mean, at a certain point, it's like it's not everybody else. Maybe
and if you get signed by somebody else, then we're 7 now, right? Because it's the Ravens now. Not. I mean, 7 in 5 years.
The most concerning thing, and I think I went back and quote tweeted the tweet was CJ Gardner-Johnson when he signed with the Ravens practice squad. Which, I mean, that's already kind of embarrassing enough, right? But, like, he said to a reporter, they were like, oh, well, why did you come to Baltimore? He's like, basically my only option. And now you just mutually agreed to leave what was supposedly your only option because of a playtime opportunity. Like, you're a practice squad safety. I don't know what you thought was going to happen. I know they were banged up at the position, but it's just like...
Right.
I don't. As far as the Eagles go, it just seems like they've already moved on. I mean, I know Drew Nakobe has struggled. He's given up some big plays here and there, but it seems like they want to just let him take his bumps. And could they bring him back as like on their practice squad? I mean, I would never say never. I've learned, like Josh said, I wouldn't say 0.0%, but it's just, it feels like it was the perfect time to move on and like go their separate ways. Now you can kind of let Reed Blankenship. He's got the C on his chest now, and Drew Nakobe's developing next to him, and just let those guys kind of play it out. And at safety, I don't think bringing him back, especially if there's already kind of questions in the locker room, if there was a guy that was even making a little bit of waves in the locker room, right now does not seem like the best time to bring him back to Philadelphia.
Yeah, I agree. And even if you wanted, I understand the argument. I've seen lots of the comments. I see it in the comment section here. Like you want to add the attitude, the physicality, the swagger back, whatever you want to call it, because we didn't see it in the Giants game. I understand, but this is just I don't know. It's different than the first time that he left. And I just, like I say, that's why I'm holding to the fact that I would be absolutely shocked if there's any sort of move there. He's trying, I think on his side, he's trying to get back. He tweeted out, basically
did
like
you see that tweet?
Yeah, basically. I mean, here I could put it up on the screen.
It felt like a text but that like some guy that just broke up with his ex. He was like, "No, I'm a changed man.
Yes,
like,
yes,
take me back, baby.
100%. Like, yes, that is exactly what it seemed
like. If you're
like.
stooping to that level, it's like, oh man, that's tough to see. And don't get me wrong, I love CJ Gardner-Johnson, the player. I thought when he was in Philadelphia, he was so much fun to watch. He was a legitimate like tone setter in the secondary. But like I said, if you're putting the puzzle pieces together, at a certain point, it seems like something off the field is not right. Whether it's, I don't know the specifics, so I'm not going to speculate, but like it just seems like he hasn't been a fit on multiple teams now. And now with that tweet, I feel like given how he's tweeted about teams before in the past when he's left, the fact that he's kind of like going into like a little turtle shell now and seems like he's almost begging for a job, it's like even he's starting to recognize like, oh, maybe it is me. So maybe the Eagles give him a third chance, but I wouldn't bet on it.
Maybe they do. Never say never, like you say. But yes, for those that did not see the tweet, he said 4 hours ago, he said, I just want to take a moment to thank, and this again, remember, this is context here. This is after he's been, I shouldn't say let go. He mutually agreed to leave the only opportunity that he had for the Ravens. I just want to take a moment to thank all the teams I've been a part of, coaches, teammates, and everyone who supported me along the way. Every experience has helped me grow both on and off the field. I'm truly grateful for all the opportunities and memories. Football has always been a big part of who I am, and my passion for the game is still strong. I'm excited to keep working, improving, and continuing to play the sport I love. # God's plan. I'm all for learning. I'm all for growing, for improving yourself, trying to make amends, being a better person, being a better teammate, all that other stuff, right? So like the message there, nothing wrong with that. But yes, I'm 100% with you. As soon as I saw that, my first instinct was, or my first thought was, that is absolutely, because like you were saying a second ago, the Ravens were his only option. This is his trying to put it out there publicly. Like, I'm here. I'm trying to show a little bit of maturity. I'm trying to like, hey, I've learned from this. I appreciate you coaches, appreciate you teammates, because maybe things didn't necessarily go how we wanted them to, but this is his public apology and, maybe a hope for whether it is the Eagles, whether it's others. I think it's his plea specifically to the Eagles only because you look at 2 tweets later and he put happy birthday to my mentor on the Brian Dawkins Eagles post from the Eagles Twitter account. And he put happy birthday mentor. And then he also had retweeted it previously. Now, there's lots of safeties that love B-Dog and everybody does. So that's not for sure. But I'm just saying, like, context wise, he's quote tweeting the Eagles account and he's saying happy birthday mentor. And then this comes out 4 hours after he gets released. So, yeah, I think on his side, absolutely. Why wouldn't you take a reunion to the Eagles, even despite what he said when he initially got released, and it's like, oh, they're never going to win without me, and blah blah blah, and then comes back on it. He's like, actually, no, he's like, I love those guys, wish them the best, blah, but I don't see it happening. I'm sorry.
The one thing, and then this will be it on this topic, but as far as just like strictly football talk, right? Like, Quinyon Mitchell, it seems like we don't 100% know if he's going to play this week or not. We saw what happened with Adoree Jackson and Kelee Ringo on the outside. It just did not go well. And then Reed Blankenship got banged up. They had to do like weird stuff with the safeties, brought Marcus Epson, had Cooper DeJean playing on the outside. Like, in my mind, from a pure football standpoint, say Darius Slay was the player, hypothetically, that had the issues with CJ Gardner-Johnson in Philadelphia or whatever, like that was kind of the main tension in the locker room. Now, if they're willing to kind of bring CJ Gardner-Johnson back, would they potentially view him as an option in the slot that's knowledgeable with Vic Fangio's defense, aggressive in the run game? We know he can kind of play aggressive downhill. Then you move Cooper DeJean outside, have him outside, have Adoree Jackson on the other side until Quinyon Mitchell comes back. If he's willing to kind of accept a lesser role, if this is what he's talking about, where he just wants more playing time, I could potentially think that might be a fit where they can bring him in on the practice squad, because obviously he wouldn't be able to go. The Eagles couldn't sign him off Baltimore's practice squad to their practice squad, right? He'd have to be a free agent. So that's the only other thing I would kind of think of, is maybe he's an option on their practice squad in the meantime until they figure out the Quinyon Mitchell situation. And then maybe even moving forward, if they feel like Cooper DeJean can just play outside. I know I've said over and over again, I don't think Vic Fangio ideally wants Cooper DeJean on the outside. But if he does like CJ Gardner-Johnson, then if he's willing to come back for practice squad money, be elevated for a couple games, and if he does well, then be signed to the active roster and kind of take that step back and humble himself a little bit, that might be a way to make things work, because I don't think they would want to start him over Drew Nakobe. You don't want to just kill a rookie's confidence like that, right? But for right now, potentially putting him in that slot where he played a ton in New Orleans, he played a little bit with the Eagles, that might be a potential role for him right now for Philadelphia.
Yeah, football. I mean, I think we've said this in the past, but just to make sure and reiterate, like, there's nothing personally football-wise or anything like that. There's nothing against CJ Gardner-Johnson. And could he help just from a football standpoint? Yeah, I absolutely think that he could. But the other issues, the reasons that other teams have continued to cut him and let him go, and the trades that really didn't work out for Eagles or either team, quite honestly, the Eagles or the Texans, because both players ended up getting cut and left from the team. And then I know Kenyon Green's been back and forth and just the different moves, but neither team, the trade there didn't work out. I don't think how the sides envisioned, but it's just the extra baggage. So like I say, don't think that it will happen. If it does, I like I said before too, if it does, I'll admit that I was wrong. And I'm also not saying from a football standpoint that it hurts the Eagles in terms of X's and O's. It's just locker room vibes, and that's going to be weighed very heavily by Howie and Fangio and everybody else involved. So Anthony Giovanelli, member for 1 month, says CJGJ with a roll of duct tape. That was the comment from previously.
That might work.
Yeah. Dylan with a 5 bomb here says, to be honest, the defense has been good other than CB2. O-line needs an upgrade. We have Saquon and can't run it all. That's a bigger issue than the defense. Trust hurts. The offense is 100% a bigger issue than the defense. There's not a doubt in my mind. I don't think, I mean, I'll for the heck of it, I'll start a poll here because I'm curious, but there can't be more than like 10% that say the defense is 5%. What let's see, what's the bigger issue, offense or defense? This, because I'll be shocked if it's like 25%. But let's see. Let's just put this out there, and then feel free, Anthony, to jump in on that too. But I think it's blatantly obvious.
Yeah, I mean, I said it from week one as far as specifically the offensive line, right? I mean, this is a kind of situation where like I hate to be right because it seemed like Landon Dickerson wasn't up to his normal self even last season. I know they won the Super Bowl, but I mentioned multiple times that he was like kind of allowing more pressures than normal, more sacks than normal. Obviously, the injuries didn't help this year. After the long, extensive season, like the extensive postseason run last year, it all kind of snowballed into now where he's going to probably miss multiple games. So, but the offensive line as a whole has just been an issue all season long. And I know Brian Baldinger likes to put up the clips where it's like, oh, this isn't the offensive line, which there are specific instances where the offensive line does hold up and Jalen Hurts either just misses a player or the play design is poor and there's no real options for him to go to, or he just holds the ball too long and ends up getting sacked or taking a loss when he tries to extend the play. So it's been tough to watch. And the biggest thing is where on the defensive side, it's like, oh yeah, well, they missed Jalen Carter, Quinyon Mitchell, Nolan Smith last week. These are all like key players. Reed Blankenship went out for a little bit. Like then you look on the offensive side of the ball and it's like, wait, they're only missing Landon Dickerson? Like what's the excuse there? And they returned so many starters in comparison to the defense. It's not like they were outside of Tyler Steen. It's not like you were relying on some guy to take a huge leap. It was just like copy and pasting this team that just went to the Super Bowl and dominated the Chiefs. Like it should not look this difficult. And we go over and talk about it so much, but it's not just one issue. And I think that's almost the more concerning part of it all, where it's like with the defense, it's like, oh, just get a little bit of a pass rush, figure out that second cornerback spot, and you'll probably be fine. Like for the most part, outside of the Giants game, they did pretty well. Whereas the offense, just like they can't run the ball, they can't consistently pass the ball, they can't pass protect, they can't run ball. It's like everything is an issue. The play calling sucks. The route concepts are terrible. It's like the layering of the plays and the sequencing of the plays is off. It's just like it's really, really tough to watch. And there's not a simple fix. It's not fire Kevin Patullo, make this guy the OC, because that doesn't just make everybody play harder or block better or see things better.
Execution.
There's everybody just collectively, and hopefully this mini bye week kind of helped. Like everybody has to take like a hard, long look in the mirror and be like, listen, we were really, really bad for those first 6 games, but we have more than enough in this building to figure it out. Like we literally just killed the Chiefs in the Super Bowl last season, and we have all of the same players. Like what's going on? So hopefully they'll make the necessary changes. But right now, I don't know how anybody says the defense is a bigger problem than the offense.
Yeah. And I mean, this is, they still have everything in front of them. They're 4-2. They shouldn't have been. If we go back and look at just any of the analytics, the numbers they're putting up, all the other stuff, the craziness of what it took to win those games, but yet they're 4-2. So winning is the only thing that matters. We'll take those. It's great. But yes, they need to fix things. I think that we're getting a lot of trolls here for the poll, which is not surprising because I said that beforehand. But out of 230 votes, we've got 24% that have said the defense is the bigger issue. So I'm not great.
I mean, it could just be reactionary off of last week too.
I mean, maybe, but I'm not great at math there. I believe that's something like 50 people. 50 people. That's. We got some trolls in here. There's no way that 50 out of 230, 240 people are buying into the defense being the bigger issue. If you are, then I need to see like 50 comments of why. Why is the defense, like legit reasonings, why is the defense the bigger concern than the offense?
I think, like I said, just that performance was just so disheartening, especially with how like soft they played. Not only were they just like missing tackles and missing assignments and coverage, but like the softness. And I said it like that Jihaad Campbell on the side, like play on the sideline where he's got trucked by Jackson Dart, or Cam Scatterbo just running over somebody every play, which is kind of what he's been doing all season long.
It's true. It's true.
It especially looks bad when your best players on defense are getting trucked by him. But I also feel like people forget how important, especially as far as like the physicality standpoint, guys like Nolan Smith, Jalen Carter are, right? Even Quinyon Mitchell, he brings that swagger at cornerback. He's not the most physical guy as far as like he's not going to hit stick somebody, but he talks a lot of trash, probably fires everybody up. Like they talk about all the time how different he is on the field compared to off the field, where off the field he's real quiet, but on the field he's like firing guys up in the huddle and talking a lot of trash to the offense. So I think people kind of lost sight of how important those three players are specifically because it was the Giants. I know it's like, oh, you should have beat them regardless, but like those are basically your three best players on defense outside of maybe Zach Baun. So and maybe Cooper DeJean. But so you three of your top five basically defensive players were out for that game. And people were just like, oh, they should have just beat them. It's the Giants. But at the same time, like they get paid too. Like they're an underdog team with these young guys that don't know any better. They're built on their physicality. So I mean, they got punched in the mouth, but now they should be able to bounce back.
Yeah, they did. And you know, I look at the Bucks game from last year, and the defense got punched in the mouth and they didn't respond. But then we saw after that, they're like, okay, like correct it, fix it. We will not have that happen again. And so that's where my hope is this was a wake-up call for the defense. And they say, hey, look, I don't care that it was the Giants. It could be any team in the NFL. But division rival, they took it to you. They embarrassed you. Okay, like get it corrected. I'm seeing the reasonings here. So some of the comments, you were right on some of it, the reaction. Several people, some that admitted trolls, some people saying overreaction to the game. Some saying soft, need more heart. Others saying we have the talent on offense. John saying we have the talent on offense. Defense, we have real holes. You can't win a game if you're giving up points. Well, you can't win a game if you're not scoring them either, but it goes both ways. I hear that. Fanny saying we can't stop a nosebleed with a beach towel. Some of those for total trolls. Adori and Kelee Ringo, concerning, soft mentality. Could be bigger issues because of the injuries. So, okay. I mean, yeah, it goes both ways. I get it. I mean, you can take that. No, we have corners besides Q. Don't have those. All right, I'll end the poll, but it officially looks like 24% out of 336, which again, I think that's rough math is like 80 people somewhere in there, 85 out of 336. It's still way more on the offense, but yeah, it's fair, and it does makes sense of like, okay, we have some real holes of personnel wise, but I still go back to the offensive, like Fangio knows what he's doing on the defensive side, and I have more of an issue or concern of like, I don't know if the offense coaching wise can figure it out. Like personnel, yes, you got a makeshift there, but I don't know. They haven't shown it enough. And there's some weaknesses and things that we're seeing that don't fully add up as you were talking about a second ago. So Hannah with a 20 bomb. Appreciate that, Hannah. Says, Birds fans are ready to burn the team down after a loss. Have faith. Identity is built through adversity. As a Chiefs fan, I have a lot of respect for the Eagles. P.S. Josh, we've struggled, but Pat is leading the league in total yards, 1736, and touchdowns, 11.
And they're getting Rashee Rice back.
I was going to say, out of all the unpredictability in the NFL so far this season, and not that we're going on a big Chiefs talk here because this is an Eagles stream, but out of all the unpredictability, I was asked this earlier today by a friend as we were talking about just, the NFL in general. I think I would put the Chiefs as the favorites to win the Super Bowl right now. Now, we're only at week 6, but they're getting Rashee Rice back. Their defense played a much better game. I know it's a one game, so it may be a knee-jerk reaction, but they still have Mahomes and Andy Reid. And if they have those offensive weapons, the run game is But if there's one team that I trust that can kind of get over the hump without a run game, it would be a Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid team. So, I don't know. Watch out for the Chiefs. This is a very unpredictable, who knows what's going on in the NFL this year. But they plus 700 as Super Bowl odds to win. As of right now, I mean, it's a knee-jerk reaction. I hopefully it's a jinx for them, but it's just as objective and unbiased as I possibly could be. The Chiefs would be the team from the AFC that I would say, like, who would be the AFC representative? I don't know how it's not the Chiefs.
Yeah, I feel like that's totally fair to have them in there because, like, I mean, are you really going to go with the Colts because they have 5 wins in that conference? Or, like, obviously the Bills
Probably
look like
not.
they're in a similar situation as the Eagles as far as, like, declining a little bit, but there's a clear talent gap as far as like surrounding the quarterback of those two situations as well. But the biggest thing with Buffalo is like their defense is looking a little shoddy. So that's kind of the concern there, because I mean they're dealing with a few injuries here, like, but nothing too major. So that's why it's like, wait, what's going on with Buffalo? So yeah, I don't blame you because the Chiefs got off to a slow start, but now they're already kind of hitting their stride before getting their arguably, I think he's their best receiver back. So that's only going to help as well, as long as if, like, I'm assuming they're going to maybe make a deal or two at the trade deadline if they add another running back or something like that. Who knows? Like, there's going to be options out, and that's going back to the Eagles discussion as far as the defense. Why I'm more concerned about the offense is because I feel like with the trade deadline approaching, I'm just assuming that they're going to add either a corner or an edge, right? Like maybe both. Whereas with the offense, it doesn't seem like there's like a player acquisition where it's like, oh, that'll fix their issues. Like they have a lot more issues. I know the personnel might not be a question, but like you said, with the coaching and things like that, I trust Vic Fangio a lot more than I trust Kevin Patullo at this point. So that's why I would lean towards the offense being a bigger problem. But yeah, as far as the NFL as a whole, I feel like the Chiefs coming out of the AFC, and I know people want to say the Eagles, obviously, of course, because everybody's an Eagles fan in this video, in this chat probably, but I think I've been really, really surprised with how good the Falcons have looked. I think their defense, I know it's young, but their scheme is very aggressive. They blitzed Josh Allen the highest percentage that he's ever been blitzed in his career last night, and looked damn good doing it. Michael Penix, it's like they're finally figuring out how to use all of those offensive weapons that they kind of built up over these years. It almost, I'm not saying it's the same thing, but it's kind of similar to the Tampa Bay team before they got Brady, where it's like they had all these weapons, but they just didn't have the quarterback or the system to kind of utilize them all. I'm not saying they're the same team at all, but it just reminds me of, because they're obviously a lot younger, but it's going to be interesting to see like how they can do as the season progresses, because they got off to a hot start, but I really like what I'm seeing from them as well.
They did have the was it the 34-0 against the Panthers game?
Yeah, I mean
it's the blemish, but you know,
recency bias.
They did fire. Who was it? Who did they let go? It was the
like a wide
receivers coach, I think, after that game. Yeah, so I you know,
a little
maybe
odd,
maybe that's what changed it.
But I was also higher on them than most going into the season too. So
yeah,
maybe I'm a little biased.
You're right though. They did look. They looked pretty good last night. I mean, if they sometimes I feel like they get away from also like what has worked. Like I don't know. Again, like you see play calling across the league. It's
I would say sounds like another team,
extreme, right? It's not to the extreme of the Eagles. I won't go there, but like there is instances where you watch the Falcons, you watch name your team out there, and it's like, what's going on? Why you had this work so many times now? You're going to whether a playmaker, a certain specific play, or you know lean on the running game, whatever, and they just go away from it for some reason. So. You know, their team's still strangely figuring themselves out. It's just through week 6. Anthony with the 20 bomb. Several different super chats, by the way. I'm getting to those. Heavy is the crown. Eagles have always been hated, and success exponentially increased this emotion by our enemies. The team has to navigate this mentally. Strength isn't just a physical ability, but mostly mental. I would totally agree with that. Yeah. I mean, definitely with the Super Bowl season or coming off the Super Bowl season, you know, I think we mentioned it multiple times, but definitely in the Friday stream, it's like you have the target on your back. You saw the way that the Broncos celebrated after they won that game. It's not just a regular season game. It is, I mean, it's like a playoff game for every team that plays Philly, and probably even more so when they come to Philly. That might be crazy to say, but it's like you're like, okay, we get to go play the Eagles in Philly. Oh yeah, okay, these Super Bowl champs. Yeah, let's take it to them. Like we want to make a statement here. So it's not a surprise at all to see the teams celebrate the way they are. It's the litmus test because they're the defending champions, and every single team is going to show up with just a little bit extra motivation. And we've seen what that did, obviously, in the Giants game. So, you know, I mean, it's a first place schedule, and then you add on top of it the extra target you have on your back. 100%. You got to overcome it. You got to be the more physical team.
Yeah, and that's why I know people hated me at the time for saying it, but that's why I kind of went with the 11-6 final record prediction for the Eagles, because now you have obviously the way tougher schedule. You have this target on your back. You have all these injuries that they're dealing with, unfortunately. But I said last year that they got very fortunate, especially with the timing of the little injuries that they did have. So it's just like now it's starting to pile up. It's just a matter of the Eagles kind of like he said, just not only physically but mentally being tougher and like dealing with all this adversity and seeing how they respond. So we saw how they responded last year after a rough start. Let's see if they can do it again.
Yep. Diego with a 2, appreciate that. And actually got 5 more here with a comment. Says CJGJ got cursed by Swifties after what he said to Travis after the Super Bowl.
Might not be wrong.
Believe in the curse. I he had bounced around before that, but yeah, it I don't know. It didn't help him, I guess. You have the Super Bowl shirt that he was wearing, so yeah, it was a lot of things. Anthony with the 2 also. I personally love CJ back in the nest. Not alone. There's a lot of those. A lot of people with the comments. As we even said, football, strictly speaking, football. I don't have a problem with it. I would be perfectly fine. It's just, I think there's more locker room morale, vibes, chemistry, wherever you want to pinpoint that stops it from happening. But we'll see. John with a 2, and I apologize. This is why, I was late to get to the super chat here, so he said that take, Anthony, and then it looks like a lot of claps. So he was in favor of the take. Unfortunately, I don't exactly know which take that was. Maybe for Ringo, or I'm sorry, maybe for CJ, because
I believe it was after CJ, I had mentioned the potential of bringing him back to be like the slot if he's willing to kind of humble himself, take a step back, and accept like a practice squad spot to work his way back to the 53-man roster. I believe I saw that in the chat around that time, so that's probably what he was referring to.
John, I apologize. I'm getting to those as soon as I can. So we got off on a tangent. We started talking about the Chiefs. What are we doing? What are we doing to talk about the Chiefs? John with 2 more actually says the poll should be who's worse. Oh gosh, Kelee, Ringo, Adoree Jackson, or both.
The answer is clearly Kelee, Ringo. I'm going to defend my boy Adoree Jackson. I got to die on this hill. I'm there now.
My gosh, yes. Should I start? I don't know who's gonna. Sure, why not? Who's worse? I feel like both is going to be selected. Like if this is like the A, B, C, and then D is like all of the above. It's always all of the above. But let's see.
All right, else fails, go all of the above.
Yep. Kelee, Ringo, Adoree Jackson, both. There we go. I did. Yes, I've started the poll. It's up there, so feel free. And both is in the lead by a good margin to start out. No surprise. JR Kurt with a 2. How do we handle Brian Flores' scheme this week? Well, we will have more of a breakdown in depth, I'm sure, on the game preview. But briefly, we can talk about it here. Brian Flores has blitzed. Well, he does. He blitzes all the time. But he has certainly blitzed Jalen Hurts. The one, or one of the few, but one of the areas that Jalen has been good against is the blitz. He's shown some progression throughout the years. So it's, I don't know. I'm definitely not as concerned for the blitz as I would be like, 2 years ago, whenever it was before the Vikings game. What week was that? I keep trying to think. I can't remember. It was early in the season, pretty early in the season. And we won, but it was like, there's just some issues against the blitz and really need to have some different routes and everything else there. Play calling still kind of being an issue, but Jalen has shown growth against the blitz.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even be too worried about the blitz. I'd be more so worried about, I think it was Eagles Eric on Twitter shared that the Vikings utilize the highest rate of cover 2 zone coverage this season. And if anybody's been watching the Eagles recently, the second they have to go against zone coverage, not good. The pass defense, the passing offense just falls off a cliff there. I don't know if it's just the route concepts or what Jalen Hurts sees or the play calling. It's just everything into one. They just haven't been able to get it going against like zone defenses, and the Vikings run cover 2 at the highest clip in the league. So that's more so what I would be worried about, because I could almost see Brian Flores. I know he blitzes a lot, but I could see him being like, listen, I'm just going to rush 4, drop these other 7 into zone coverage, and you have to beat it, which is funny because before it used to be like with the Eagles, like blitz Jalen Hurts, that would force him into a mistake. Like they have no answers to the blitz. It's going to be interesting to see what Brian Flores does, because he loves the blitz, but at the same time, the Eagles have been a little bit better at it, and the Vikings have the coverage ability to kind of throw the Eagles off. So it's going to be a huge week for Jalen Hurts, Kevin Patullo, A.J. Brown, Nick Sirianni, all these guys, and see if they can find answers against this Vikings defense.
All I can say is, and we're big fans of Isaiah Rodgers. I know that, but we really don't need for the mental health, the psychological health. We really don't need Zay to have like an interception or really even like a solid lockdown game because it's just gonna rub salt in the wound, quite honestly.
Well, if he
And we're
does
gonna say
anything in
like,
that
oh my
game, it's
gosh,
gonna be
he's not here and he should be. Um, so we'll see. Shout out to him, by the way. He got engaged. So saw that on his Instagram. Very good. Congrats to Zay. It would have been better if he was in Philly and maybe who knows, maybe have him on the stream right now. Hey man, congrats, you got the second ring for you. But unfortunately, good for him though. That's still exciting. A good guy, and man, that's just it's one of those tough situations that you could have had an answer here for the corner, and now we're just wondering. But I think they believed in Kelee Ringo so much that we missed it. John with a 5. Offense, we have the talent. Scheme will come eventually, so belief in the scheme for the offense. Defense, we have true personnel issues, and that was why the concern for the defense. Which if you don't have the players, it doesn't necessarily matter. Scheme, you can only hide it so much with a scheme. I do get that. That's true, but there's a lot of people that are doubting if the offensive scheme can even happen. But Kevin Patullo said this a little bit. If you read between the lines and hear his 5-minute answer for a very, very limited amount of information, and same thing for Sirianni, so they're kind of the same person, but they apparently made some changes, kind of getting some different nuances. Maybe, I don't know. At this point, it's like you hear him say a lot without saying anything, and they're emphasizing more of first and second downs, which, okay, cool, that's good, but it goes back to even a couple weeks ago when we said this, and I think it's just even more at this point. It's like, okay, cool, but just show me. Like, I don't care. Like, you could say, which would be refreshing. It would be refreshing, and I saw your comments on Twitter on this, but it would be refreshing if we got direct answers. And you just kind of like, hey, do you need to run the ball on outside zones more? And yes, instead of like this 5-minute monologue, and then we've totally lost it. Like it gets 30 seconds into it, and I'm like, what are we talking about? What was the original question? We don't get those, so that's fine. But at this point, I'm just like checked out. I very rarely, even with the exception of like having to insert a couple clips in videos to keep people posted on like, hey, there's a little bit of a change here. Maybe there's something to infer. It's like I have no desire to listen to a Kevin Patullo press conference. Like, just show me at this point. He could say, we're going to come out and we've totally changed the offense. We've got a different formation. Jalen's going to be under center 90% of that. He could say that in the press conference, and I'd be like, yeah, all right, we'll see. Prove it to me.
Yeah, I mean, I was the biggest defender, it felt like, for weeks of Kevin Patullo. And even I've like reached the point where I'm just defeated listening to him talk because it's just, he talks in circles. And I tweeted that he went to the Nick Sirianni University of saying a whole lot of nothing, where like they get asked a very direct question. Usually it could even be answered with yes or no, which is what you'll see Vic Fangio do sometimes. But for some reason, and if you go to the Eagles website and their media part of the website, you can like find the transcripts. It's very, very funny if you open up like Vic Fangio's transcripts of his press conferences compared to Kevin Patullo or Nick Sirianni, because Vic Fangio's longest answer will be maybe like 3 sentences, maybe 4 sentences. Kevin Patullo, Nick Sirianni, I'm talking like 2-3 paragraphs.
Yeah,
they're just like
never
they'll
ending.
be like, he was asked the question, and I tweeted it. I think it's in a reply to another person's tweet, but he was asked about Saquon Barkley saying that they should be like more like imposing their will on teams, which is just like should you be tougher? Like, should you be playing tougher, doing what you want to do? Seems like you could just be like yes or no. Nope. 2-paragraph rant about anything but the answer, but he also kind of says yes and no at the same time. Like Josh said, you kind of just get to the end, you're like, wait, what was the question? Like, you just lose your train of thought listening to him talk. So it's reached the point where actions speak louder than words. I don't really care for what you say in the press conferences. I almost wanted to see, and I tweeted this as well, I'd like to see him be more direct with the media, because then it would almost seem like he's more confident in what he's saying, right? Like, he's just like, are you going to get this fixed? Yes. Or I think so. But when you go on these 5-minute answers where it's like it almost seems like you're confusing yourself. To me, that comes off like you don't know the answer. Like you're just
Yep.
talking in circles. Like you don't really know what you want to say. You're just trying to fill in the time to kill this 15-minute clock at your press conference or whatever it is. Like, whereas like Vic Fangio, I know he's got 30 years of experience like in professional football, so it's kind of like it's a different kind of coaching style that you're talking about.
Sure.
But he's like, they're like, oh, do you think Jihaad Campbell can play on the edge and Nakobe Dean, like with Nakobe Dean healthy? He's like, he can. And the next question, and it's like, oh, so you think they can be on the field together? They could. Like, it's just like maybe just be a little bit more confident in your answer, and I think that would help.
Yeah.
Maybe ease the level of like frustration with Kevin Patullo right now.
Yeah, I would absolutely love that. Just to change a pace, something, because it doesn't need to be a word salad, a word vomit every single time for those questions. And it's I know it's infuriating at times for others. And you think about I don't know, this is the first thing that comes to mind for me. I know Fangio is a great example, like you said, but for anyone who's watched press conferences or even follows or followed the NBA remotely close, like Greg Popovich. Like I almost would want, I would love it if KP just one time does that. Now I know those are one word answers, right? Like he got almost to the comical side of he was trying to go one word answers and give you basically nothing, but just do that. Just hey, how do you think the offense is going to do coming out of the mini bye? Do you have any changes? Yep, made some changes. It's just like let him go out and just ask beyond that.
I don't know if this is going to work, but I just want to show an example. I went on the transcript thing. So this is Vic Fangio. I don't know if people would see that. It's four different questions and answers.
Yep, you can see that now. Yep.
So that's four different questions and answers. Now let me go to Kevin Patullo. That's one question. I don't know if you can see it.
Nope,
one question,
and
that's his answer. It doesn't even fit on the screen.
It's just all... I
mean, what are we doing here? Look.
Oh my gosh.
Another question and answer.
And it's also not the most insightful either. It's just regurgitating the same information. So, yeah,
it's very frustrating.
I was hopeful of him. You were too. I know you said that. Like it just seemed like it was going to be a difference. And not to give up on it. We'll also say that there's a chance here. They could make some changes. They can impose their will. Hopefully. They show us rather than talking, and it's like, you know what, fine, the press conferences are going to be what they're going to be, and we're not going to get much from it, and we just move on. Cool. But it's absolutely gotten beyond a frustrating point, and if we're not seeing results, then surely we're going to see some other changes beyond that. But they say they've made some changes. They're going to have some more focus on first and second down. There is a case to be made because the Eagles have the I don't know the best way to phrase it necessarily, but like the worst down and distance on third downs, or like the second worst, third worst in the NFL of third down distance. So, never a great spot to be in if you're 3rd and 7 average or whatever the exact number is. I forget off the top of my head now, but it's really bad, right? So get some more yards on first and second down. That's what it boils down to, plain and simple. But it's not just like, oh, we're focusing on first and second down. Cool. Like, what are we doing? So that's what I'm hoping to see differently. Yeah. And it's just hope at this point. Like there's answers that we do need to see, but it's literally just hope. Garrett with a 10 bomb. Appreciate that, guys. Can you explain to me why Cam Scadaboo isn't being fined or at least flagged on his head diving runs? Not an excuse. We need to play better, but it's still weird.
That would be because there's no rhyme or reason to anything that the NFL officiating or
the
fines, everything about that is a mess.
These arbitrary fines and numbers,
Just looking at, I think it was Frankie Louvu, right? He hit somebody close to out of bounds, and then blatantly flexed over him. No flag, no penalty,
completely. Yes,
Nolan Smith did it. Penalty. It's just then you see one guy flagged for leading with his helmet, getting fined for it. Another guy doesn't. It's just I'm not saying that. I mean, Cam Scadaboo is a very aggressive runner, so he might get some leniency there because he's always running hard, kind of like Isaiah Pacheco kind of runner where he's just very powerful. The refs kind of expect that already. But at the same time, if you're going to go back, and it seems like the Eagles have been fined so many times for such little things, and you don't see a fine for him, I understand being upset about it. But there's also been times where I thought the Eagles were for sure going to be fined for something or penalized for something. There's no consistency. at all throughout the entire league. And I know the Eagles are under a microscope. There's been a lot of egregious calls against them and weird fines, but the NFL as a whole, it's a mess.
Yeah. Not a surprise, but yes, the NFL is a little bit inconsistent. We know their stance on the tush push and everything there, but Eric with a 2, super honest view on KP. Do you think he'll get it right? We kind of answered that just a second ago with KP and the offense and where we're at. Hopefully, I hope that they do. I'm not totally giving up on it because we talked about the playmakers and they have the personnel. They just have to make adjustments scheme-wise and everything. So, John with a 5. I don't want CJ back. Howie, call Miami for Bradley Chubb and cornerback Jack Jones. Please, Howie.
I mean, Bradley Chubb, sure. I mean, you could also ask about Jalen Phillips, but I don't know about Jack Jones. Like, that just seems like another one of the
there.
Jacorian Bennett, Kelee Ringo. Like, he's played well at times, hasn't been played well at other times. Another guy that also has some questions off the field. So I'm all for Jalen Phillips or Bradley Chubb. I mentioned them as some of my 10 trade targets at the PhillySpecialShow.com if anybody wants to check out that article. But yeah, those are two guys. And Zach Berman for The Athletic has constantly said over the last couple weeks, he'll be like, watch out for that situation in Miami, monitor that situation in Miami as far as like trade targets for the Eagles. So he doesn't just put stuff out there like that for nothing. He's one of the more responsible reporters. So the fact that he's kind of putting that little tea leaf out there, like that little, I would just definitely pay attention to that situation.
Yes. And Miami's a dumpster fire, and Tua's like at least we don't have Tua press conference with Jalen Hurts. If Jalen Hurts is out there making those statements, like, oh no, we're done. Like, blow this thing up, fire everybody, trade some players, maybe. Like, that is a terrible, terrible situation when you're.
I honestly thought it was AI
quarterback. I did, and the fact that it was posted, because I think that I can't remember who the reporter is, but they posted it, but the video and the audio was a little bit out of sorts, right? So that, like, you'd see it and it was kind of like, I can't tell. So you had to verify, and the reporter came back and said, like, this was at the press conference, blah blah. And you go back and look at it and see that was what was posted to Miami's page as well, right? But I thought the same thing. As soon as I saw that Twitter clip, I was like, this can't be what he actually said to call out the team. We're like, nope, it actually was. That's what he's doing there. So, it could be worse.
Yeah, I mean, even was it Jeffrey Simmons in Tennessee where he was like, yeah, we had the worst week of practice that I've ever seen.
Before,
Thursday, we basically did nothing. I was like, oh, like Eagles fans, I know it's bad supposedly here, like the sky is falling, everything is terrible at 4-2, but it can be so much worse.
It definitely could. And the flip side of that argument, totally understand it. We're not saying like, oh, hey, thankfully we're not Miami or Tennessee, right? Like that's not the standard. That's not the litmus test where we're grading out. That is fair. But yeah, just a little perspective off that. I was like, wow, okay, they are in a bad way. There's a fire sale coming, and it is definitely understandable where Zach Berman is getting some probably extra inside information of like, whether it's some brief, just like tips from reporters there, or just pulse checks around the team or anything like that of like, yeah, this thing's bad. Like it's about to get blown up, and in a big way. So you never know. We'll see. Anthony with the 2 more is Ant, any news on Quinyonamo hamstring? I don't think we've got anything from.
Yeah, I mean, Vic Fangio even seemed like he was unsure, which probably isn't great because you'd want a more definitive answer, because I think it was EJ Smith mentioned how Vic Fangio's usually he's basically the only one that'll give you anything as far as injuries go. Like he'll just be like, yeah, he'll probably be all right, or he won't be. Like, for him to be unsure on a Tuesday, probably not ideal. So especially against those Minnesota weapons that they have out there. No, I don't know. You could put me and Josh at quarterback. I think we might be able to get some passes to Justin Jefferson and Jordan
we might
Madison
score a touchdown. We actually might. I just launch it up there to Justin Jefferson, right? I mean, yeah, you could be anybody and have a chance, I think. And they got Wentz, so I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I'm hopeful that maybe it results in some sacks at least, right? Like just get something.
We're gonna get into like later this week with the game preview and stuff, but if you think stuff is bad in Philadelphia, if they lose to Carson Wentz,
nope.
I mean, there's going to be...
Nope.
Yeah,
We
that's. I
can't.
mean, yeah,
We
that's
can't.
going to be a
But
whole
it's a
different
terrible
level.
matchup. I will
Yeah,
say this too, though. If you're looking for an underdog play, scan the QR code, use code Philly Special. Justin Jefferson over on anything is probably a pretty good bet. I hate to say that, but like it's most likely going to be a Dory Jackson and or Kelee Ringo. And my gosh, I know nobody is confident on that one. So the Eagles can still win, but it would not surprise me. We're like, hey, the Eagles won, but Justin Jefferson was like, 10 catches, 180 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Like it could be really, really bad. Anthony with 2 more. That's unfair. Greg Pop is king of pressers. I know. I'm not expecting KP to be Pop, but it would just be funny if he channeled some sort of inner
it would be
Popovich.
great if they had like the Eagles had a phenomenal game where they dropped like 40 points and beat the Vikings, like say,
Oh
and
yes,
then
yeah.
Kevin Patullo comes out and he's just like, "So that's what you wanted to see, huh?"
Oh
Like
my
he
gosh,
comes
that
out
would be
with a leather jacket, like
so
Jalen
good.
Hurts, like
Yes.
that would be the
And
best.
maybe
It's not going to
Jalen
happen,
gives him his
but
chain too. Could
yes,
you imagine he shows up to it? Oh yes,
that would be
please.
so funny.
There, yeah, we won't see it unfortunately. Even if they do score 40, it'll probably be the same nonsense that he says. But at least you can deal with it more, right? Whenever it's winning versus losing. So, John with the 2, they don't like us and we don't care. That is 100%. Yep. Regardless, it's the Eagles mentality. It happens, but yeah, I think we'd take advantage. We'll get into more of the preview and all that. Last question here. Actually, let me get this thing ready for the giveaway because I did mention that it was on the previous video. All you had to do was drop a comment that automatically gets you in there. So, it'll be someone that I will spin for and an opportunity to win any jersey of your choice, any NFL jersey of your choice. I will share this here in a second, but in the meantime, the last topic here I think that we were going to cover just briefly, and we've somewhat alluded to it, but as far as edge play, Nakobe Dean got in 6 snaps on special teams last week. Fangio was asked about the pass rush, the lack of pass rush. Could Jihaad Campbell be moved to the edge? There's a possibility on that side. We all would love to see a trade being made. Not that that can't happen, but internally, if you're trying to figure something out, I don't know. Is it too early to think that you move Nakobe Dean back to his original position or give him, his job back basically and say, okay, Jihaad, we know you're rookie. We kind of see you long-term as the off-ball linebacker, but let's try to make this thing work and play him at the edge more often or more frequently than he has been, because the other, side of that argument is like we've been talking about for Andrew Makuba. You don't want to take him off the field for confidence factor. I don't know. I'm not sure that they do that. Maybe a really small sample size, but I don't think that's like a long-term answer, even for just this season.
Yeah, I don't know if it's it would be a long-term move for Jihaad Campbell, but in my mind, especially coming off that performance against the Giants, I feel like this would be the way to get your best 11 players on the field, right? Because
Yeah.
I think, and I wrote about it when they announced that Nakobe Dean was going to be being activated. I just felt like, based on the versatility of Zack Baun and Jihaad Campbell, we talk about all the time how they're both able to just drop in coverage, rush the passer. They can play off ball. They can line up on the edge on the line of scrimmage. But if you look at the numbers, Zack Baun really hasn't lined up on the edge a lot at all this season. He did a lot of it last year when Nakobe Dean was there, because Nakobe Dean was kind of the off-ball guy that would just drop back in coverage and Zack Baun would be on the line. Where this year, Jihaad Campbell has played 60-plus snaps, maybe even more than that, strictly on the edge. And Vic Fangio spoke about that today, where he's like, he has been playing on the edge a bit, not obviously full-time, but he's done it drastically more than Zack Baun has done it. So I think it makes a lot of sense because he's been playing there, not full-time, but even if it's just 10, 15 snaps a game, that's a good, decent amount of experience. And you look at some of the other edge rushers, it's not like they're blowing teams away and getting a ton of sacks. The bar is set so low as far as production on the edge that I don't think there would be much of a drop-off, because they've had their issues against the run as well on the edge. So it's not even like you have to worry about him kind of setting the edge, because, like I said, once Nolan Smith comes back, that obviously changes everything, right? But until Nolan Smith is back for these next 2-3 weeks, whatever it is, why not try Jihaad Campbell there and put Nakobe Dean at off-ball linebacker next to Zack Baun? You could still blitz Zack Baun a ton like you have been doing this season. You could blitz Nakobe Dean, who was one of the best blitzing linebackers in the NFL last season, and then you could still have everybody else around them. And I just feel like like it's a good opportunity for Nakobe Dean as well in a contract year, especially ahead of the trade deadline, because you can kind of set yourself up where if Nakobe Dean looks great and this works out, you can keep him. Obviously, that'd be great. Or if you know Nolan Smith is going to be 100%, now you could say, hey, Nakobe Dean, you go to this team for a third or fourth round pick because you're probably going to leave us in free agency anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And now Jihaad Campbell could just go back to off ball linebacker. So to me, I don't think it would be like a bad thing to try it for the next 2-3 weeks. If it doesn't work, so be it. But it's not like the edge has been such a phenomenal position for the Eagles. Like Jihaad Campbell, what's the worst he could do? He's not going to have a sack like Jalen Hunt and all these other guys. Like what's going to happen?
That's true. That is a good way to look at it. It's not like we're the current edge players like, oh man, they each got like 4 sacks, 5 sacks. This is really,
you're not exactly benching Reggie White. You would be benching
do you
Patrick Johnson.
Yeah, do you want to have Patrick Johnson there, or do you want to have Jihaad Campbell on the field? So yeah, that's true. What you said, I think, is most important. Get your best 11 guys on the field. I mean, however you have to. Heck, I saw like, do you figure out a way? If the edge play has been not great and you want to get some extra guys out there, see what they can do. Try to just jumpstart something on the edge. You move Jalen Carter out there, not full time, but just some different, weird, unique alignments.
He's
maybe.
done a few snaps this year.
He has. So it couldn't be worse, like you're saying. It maybe just throws the defense in a bind. So I don't know. Dylan with the 5. A couple more super chats, then I'm going to spin for this thing. So Dylan with the 5. When was the last good Howie trade other than A.J. Brown? When was the last good Howie trade other than A.J. Brown?
As far as acquiring a player, it's been quite a bit, but I think he's traded a few players away for good value.
Yeah.
Kenny Pickett.
To think those. It's been not as many. No.
Not great.
Yeah, I don't know. The track record is not great.
We shouldn't have
actually that's true. You get Fred back. That's a recent one. CJ comments and Zack, but Zack Baun is not a. He's saying trade. It's like that. That's a phenomenal move. But even Saquon, right? Like those are just signings. So maybe CJ. Somehow it's definitely not Tank. Who beast with the troll there. Yes, we've mentioned Jay, but they said since AJ. That would be the wrong direction. Anthony with a 5, as you're pulling that up, says, how about poor field position game? We can't keep starting drives inside our own 10 to 15 yard line. I'm sick of this. That is, oh my gosh, it's so bad. It is. They were. What are the Eagles? I think they're third worst or second worst. There's it's something like the third or second worst in the NFL starting field position. Last year we were 6th best. Like you talk about that type of a swing. It's right up there in my mind with the offensive line not playing well, the running game not getting going, the lack of sacks, and just the total flip from what you saw one season ago. And it's on everybody. It's on the special teams factor, but Jahan Dotson, like he's there, but in the punt return game, and we've talked about this. We're not going to go like crazy long on it, but put Britton Covey back there. Like I know that Jahan Dotson, he can catch. Thank goodness he can do a fair catch and we can get the ball there. But the yards that they're losing is insane. Thought of this.
Maybe because he doesn't catch the ball on offense, he's just calling for fair catches. So maybe he thinks they count as receptions, and that's why he leads the NFL in fair catches.
So bad.
I think he had. Last I checked, I think he had 12, and the next closest player had like 8. It's just he doesn't even try to return anything.
No, I think honestly, I think the coaching technique, the coaching methodology there, what he's being told, and this is speculation here, we don't know, but like I would buy it that he's literally told, hey, Jahan, unless you see 20 yards of space in front of you, just fair catch it every time. Like let's just not even think about it. Let's not worry about a turnover. Just fair catch it. But put Covey back there. I know that it's like, look, you say, okay, well, if Covey goes back there, even good return average, 9-10 yards on a return, but that's still a drastic difference. That can change a game if you're consistently getting it. Where it's like, oh well, Jahan fair catch it at the 16-yard line, Covey makes something happen, and now you're at the 26-yard line, right? Like it's a different game. Your play calls are different, and Like, God forbid he actually returns one for 40 yards and all of a sudden we have a really good return, right? Like, that's just never going to happen with Jihaad. And think that he should be used more on the offensive side of the ball. But for special teams, make that change, kick return, make a change there.
I mean, I feel like we already spoke too much about Jahan Dotson. Compared to the kick returners, Jahan Dotson is an all-pro as a punt returner.
Yes. Yeah, he's not the kick returners, issue with the kick return,
I mean,
no.
A.J. Dillon, Tank Bigsby, that trade, like I said, might be one of the worst that Howie Roseman's ever made. Like, they can't even just catch the ball. And it's not even like we made the excuse when they played the Rams. They're like, oh, it's these funky kicks. Like, it's just regular kicks now that he's not able to catch. And I tweeted about it once they lost to the Giants. I said, listen, if they're not going to change anything else during this mini bye week, there's two very basic moves that they can make. You elevate Britton Covey for 3 games and then potentially sign him to the 53-man roster as your punt returner. Mm-hmm. That's all he has to do. And then your kick returner, you already have Xavier Gipson on the roster. He hasn't been active for any games, but he's on the 53-man roster. Just have him be active. You can put John Mechie on like inactive or Tank Bigsby. Take your choice because either one of them can't field the kick return. And then you just have Xavier Gipson and Will Shipley back there as your primary kick returners. And then maybe you could start a drive at the 25 or the 30-yard line instead of the 10 or the 5-yard line. Like, maybe that will help your offense a little bit too.
It would be nice. It would be because it's one game that you go to, but you look around the league. I mean, the Giants game, they were returning it to like the 35 or 40-yard line almost every time, it felt like. So it's a shortened field.
Like they're playing different sports.
They totally, yeah. One team that was happy to just like don't turn the football over. Like, and I don't know if that's a coaching part that it's being drilled so much of don't turn the football over that it's lacking any sort of like aggression and playmaking to try to get some yards, or if it's a combination there. But yeah, it's been terrible. So changes, again, another area that they need to make some changes. Mini buy, a little bit of self-scouting that they talked about. Hopefully we see that. We'll see. All right, giveaway here. Appreciate it. Drop a like if you haven't already. Helps support the channel, get the algorithm kicked out there. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't. This is for the comments on the previous video and getting any NFL jersey of your choice. So all you got to do is drop a comment on that one, and good luck to all. Hopefully you're on the stream. You don't have to be, but hopefully you are. It'd be great. Christopher Nicastro, I think. Christopher Nicastro says, I need both. I think Howie grabs both an edge and a cornerback. Hopefully Christopher is correct in that. Hopefully we get both of those. But Christopher, congratulations. Any NFL jersey of your choice, just DM me on one of the socials or email me at thephillyspecialshow@gmail.com. Kind of the normal, usual stuff. And I will get that to you. So we'll make sure and post that as well. But congrats to Christopher. Got a lot of other giveaways and everything else. Daniel, yes, I know it's rigged. It is rigged tonight. But other stuff planned. Really exciting stuff from a couple different avenues. I don't think that we announce it or say it yet, but just some exciting giveaways and other possibilities. So stay tuned for that. The ticket giveaway is still in play. It's still in the works. The Eagles just have to win, and it's so strange.
Don't record your ad, and we'll be all right.
Games now. I know. I had to redo the whole thing, so it was in the last video, but it just wasn't how it was originally planned. So, yes, if and when, I shouldn't say if, when the Eagles win the next game against the Vikings, we're believing in that. Then every game this season, we're giving away 2 Eagles tickets to subscribers of the channel. So make sure to do that. Also, the member giveaways, which we do at the end of the month. So I'll keep everybody posted, but that'll just all you got to be as a member of the channel. So good luck all. I think that's it. Anything else that we forgot to cover? Any other topics?
No, I think we spoke a little bit about the trade targets, but like I said, I wrote an article with 10 trade targets for the Eagles on the phillyspecialshow.com. I'll have an article coming up hopefully tomorrow with potential offensive consultant options for the Eagles as well if they do eventually want to bring in somebody for that role. And I'll have my game preview, Eagles mailbag, stuff like that later in the week too. So if you go check out the website, I'd appreciate that.
There we go. thephillyspecialshow.com. Got the link down in the description too. It'll take you right there. So go check that out. And follow Anthony at DiBona NFL. All the insights, everything else, injury updates. Keep an eye on that too. Again, the Vikings are dealing with some injuries, so there's a possibility that it helps us out, and we're obviously dealing with some injuries. So stay tuned. More info, news, videos dropping regularly. And of course, if we do have a move that the Eagles make, we'll be going live. So you guys know that. As always, we'll see you next time. Go Birds.